Hello everyone and welcome to the Season 18 CCL Playoffs announcement. We are going to look at the draw and we'll make some predictions. And then we'll may hear from some of the people in the playoffs who I can see at least 3 have shown up in chat already. What we're going to do is go through the draw one at a time rather than show everything at once, just because of the hype, as Random Boy has just shown up and said. Why not, eh? So, let's give this a start. These are the teams that I'm waiting to show up on screen because of the delay. Gotta love that. And first out of the hat is Azathoth and his Dark Elf team. And he will be playing Price and his High Elf team. That's a particularly good matchup straight off. 2 top level elf teams elfing each other. We'll have a quick look at their teams now. This is Azathoth team, 2120 Dark Elves. That's pretty huge. I think he is in fact the highest TV in the playoffs. I did check that earlier. No one else has shown up. Yep, Azathoth is indeed the highest. And his team roster is a bit good. 7 doubles. A lot of guard, which for Dark Elves is impressive. He has 2 skill ups still to take. I don't know if those are normals or not. I'm sure he was just waiting to see his opponent, which is a nice little tactic that a lot of playoff coaches use. Other than that, that's a very well-rounded Dark Elf team. And let's take a look at Price's High Elves. $17.70, so we'll be getting a fair amount of inducements there. And not quite, I mean, obviously with 300 TV less, not quite as well-rounded. Price is going to have to pull something out of the bag, I think. He will get a wizard, almost certainly. That will help, even in an elf off. But he's outguarded, he's out mighty blowed. It's going to be rough for Price, I think. So, second draw. First out is Colian's Dwarves. Oh, I'm still quiet. Interesting. Rick said that it was fine earlier. Not certain what's going on. Hopefully, you can just turn me up. We'll we don't really have time to stop and try and work out what's going on with this microphone. So second draw, Colian's Dwarves. And he has drawn, unluckily for him, Cham's Chaos Dwarves, which is a rough draw, let's be honest. Colian min-maxed his dwarves and has the interesting build of taking 4 piling on dwarves and just one ball carrier, 1 troll slayer, all longbeards. Very min-maxed, except for the piling ons. But that is a lot of mighty blow and a lot of piling on. Yes, Random Boy. This team is interesting, isn't it? But I mean, when you min-max like this, you leave yourself open, and if Cham gets a hit on that runner, he doesn't have any other Edge 3 on the team. So that's the weak point. He is going to get a bunch of inducements against Cham, as we'll see in a moment. So, let's take a look at Cham's team, shall we? If we can find it. There we go. They're not in any kind of order, unfortunately. Yeah, this is a significantly more advanced team, isn't it? 1840 TV, missing a Chaos Dwarf blocker, so that's 1950 TV that he should be. He is down that Chaos Dwarf for the matchup, but he does have 2 Claw Mighty Blow, including a Pylon and a Jump Up. Both of his bulls are well advanced, and he has some good hobgoblins thrown in there. It's an odd Frenzy Wrestle hobgoblin. It's a little interesting one, isn't it? And a Leader Edge 4 hobgoblin. Cham's and a utility hobgoblin. But I think you got to give the edge to Cham here, haven't you? Even with Colian and his crazy piling on team, he's going to need to use his inducements very well to get out of that. Next up in the draw, Coldie's Pro Elves have drawn Random Boys Lizards. Random Boy is in chat, and I think he'll probably be happy with that draw. Of all of the Elves teams he could have drawn, he's drawn the AV7 ones. So let's take a look at Coldie's team. This is Coldie's team, 1680 TV. It's a Pro Elf team. No stat ups, nothing particularly special. Coldie's an excellent coach, one of the top coaches in CCL for the last season, but he's going to have his work cut out for him with this, isn't he? Especially when you take a look at Random Boy's team. Random Boy, another excellent coach. I mean, if you're in playoffs, you're probably an excellent coach. 1870 TV for the Lizards. Does only have, he has 3 Mighty Blow. 2 on the Saurus and 1 on the Crocs. The Crocs does have block, that'll be nice. He has 2 Tackle Saurus. As Coldie looking at this is going to be a bit worried, I think. I would be if I was Coldie. He does get a wizard. Elves can do things with wizards, but that's a rough matchup, I think, for poor Coldie there. So let's look at the next draw. The next out of the hat is Deck Signs Khemri, and they are going to play Gimlick's Skaven. Gimlick was also in chat earlier. Don't know if he stuck around. Again, I think one of those coaches will be happier than the other. But the Khemri team is well developed. Let's take a look at it. 1770 TV. Skills on all the Tomb Guardians. Mighty Blow. 3 Mighty Blow. And he does have one of the best, in my opinion, best players in the playoffs, with a completely unskilled but agility 4 skeleton. I mean, Gimlick has got to be sweating that skeleton, I think. That's gonna cause some problems for him. What are you going to do against an Agi 4 skeleton, Gimlick? I mean, you probably thought, Khemri, that's nice and easy, I'll run rings around him. And then you show up and this insane skeleton's there. It's interesting, isn't it? Took the second Agi, why not? 2+ pickups with Khemri, it's the dream. Let's take a look at Gimlick's team, see what he's got to counter that incredible skeleton. 1910 TV. I mean, when a Skaven team gets up that high, you know they've done well. It's well rounded. It does have a Claw Pommer. Does have a Tackle Mighty Blow. Other Storm Vermin. Rat Ogre does not have block. does have Juggernaut, so that'll help out. Natural one-turner with Edge 5, pretty much the perfect gutter runner there. But I mean, I can't see anything in there that's going to counter that Edge 5 skeleton, Edge 4 skeleton. I think you might be in trouble here, Gimlick. In reality, that's a bunch of unskilled AV7 guys ready to be mighty blowed. So, you know, it could go badly. We shall see. Next draw. Next draw is my favourite. A bit of a spoiler there. First up, Jehanian's Wood Elves. And Jehanian has drawn Mike the Machine's Wood Elves. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is my pick for match to watch of round one. If I wasn't doing this, I would make sure I was online. I would watch it in Cabal TV. That is going to be interesting. I will say there is a slight downside to it. We'll have a look. Jehanian's team not quite as advanced as Mike's. He is missing one of his very good catchers for that matchup, which will hamstring him a little bit. And both of his war dancers are just tackle. I mean, against the Wood Elves, that tackle's good, right? But he's going to have to... It's a tricks-based team. Jehanian's really 2 Edge 5 Linos with leap, plus the war dancers as 4 leap. He has 4 catchers, even though he's missing one. And he's got a movement up tree man with grab for the 1 turn. It's an interesting team with a lot of tricks in it. Unfortunately, he's drawn Mike, who plays Wood Elves and knows the tricks. So that's going to be a match, isn't it? And it's going to be pretty much the opposite of Cham versus Colian. Very little punching, lots of leaping and dodging. Let's take a look at Mike's Elves. Mike's Elves, over 2,000 TV if they weren't missing that lineman. War Dancers, more developed, one with Strip, one with Mighty Blow. Also has an Edge 5 leap lineman, but this one has dodge and movement 8, so he really does have a third dancer. Just one catcher, but all of his linos are skilled. Block and grab on the tree. It's going to be a good match, I think. I will notice that player of the year right there on Mike's team, Artemis Blackalia, very well named lineman. Just has wrestle, but that's all he needs, really. He probably will win the match for Mike on his own. Yes, Rick. The thing is, Jehanian's dancers pretty much died in the few games running up to playoffs. He did have very good, at least one very good dancer that died maybe 2 games before playoffs. So, yeah, he'll be missing those in this match, definitely. So let's move on to the next draw. First up is Olivier Dulac's Underworld team, or no offense to Olivier, but half an Underworld team. And he will be playing Schmickael and his halflings. Schmickael being Rick Reckless in chat and on stream. And I think they're probably both happy they drew each other there. Because as we'll see, Olivier was not really thinking that he would qualify. Sadly, an internet accident happened to Top Underworld and Yakastay, which promoted Olivier to Top Underworld. But he hadn't played, and his team had been slightly murdered, as we'll see. There we go. He doesn't have a troll for Underworld. I mean, that's rough, isn't it? People, say you can go no trolls for regular goblins, but an Underworld team want their Warpstone troll, really. They like that Claw Mighty Blow. Is Throwers out? He does have Claw Mighty Blow on one blitzer. His other blitzer's a rookie. He's a good coach, Astro, but this team has virtually nothing going for it. His only hope is that Claw Mighty Blow does work on Rick's trees, I think. He has no tackle. Does have some block. But, I mean, how many assists is that blitzer going to need to have a go at a tree? And let's take a look at Rick's flings. Who, I'm not so... I mean, it probably is a good draw for Rick. They're almost... I think they are identical team value. 980, yep. But it means that Rick doesn't get any inducements. And flings love those inducements. Movement up tree's nice, but the other tree's a rookie. And then a super halfling. And a couple of regular sidestep halflings. And that's it. Rick's team is... I mean, like flings in most playoffs, they kind of look like they've played 4 games, and that's about it. That is... it will make the match more competitive. I mean... I think it is a shame for everyone that Rick didn't draw like 1960 ogres or something and got 1,000 inducements, and we can all see what you can do with that. Just buy another halfling team and show up with 36 halflings. But yeah, they're probably both happy to have drawn that. So let's look at the next draw. First out the hat is Andy Devo and his Orcs. And Andy Devo is playing Arzawain and his Bretonians. And I think Andy Devo's lucked out a bit there, hasn't he? Arzawain being an excellent coach. But Arzawain ran this Bretonian team up in the last 36 hours of playoffs from scratch. We'll take a look at Andy's team first. 1910 Orcs. All the Black Orcs have block and guard. Some have Mighty Blow. This team is a very, very good Orc team. It's just what you'd expect. It's well rounded. It's well advanced. No real weak points except for the thrower, which is correctly named. Does have a killer, well, 2 killers if you include the non-piling on blitzer. Lots of guard, strength 4 blitzer. It's a good team. And he is playing Arzawain's Brett. Where are you, Arzawain? There we go, last page, of course. Only 1350 TV, 600 lower than Andy. Missing 2 players. I mean, this is what happens when you run a team up last minute. I mean, that's an excellent achievement for Arzawain, let's be fair. 36 hours left to go. Starts a Brett team, runs it through into playoffs. After Cybernite concessioned out and left Brett's open, but it leaves him incredibly weak in playoffs, doesn't it? He's probably just going to get absolutely murdered. Sorry, Arzo, but yeah. Right, let's look at the next roundup. Next up, we have Bright's Dark Elves. And Bright has drawn Ziggy and his Chorfs. So that's actually going to be a more interesting matchup than I think people will have thought. There is there's something going on outside here at the moment, which is why I'm slightly distracted every now and again. It's very loud noises that you probably can't pick up, but they are distracting me, so I'm sorry about that. Let's take a look at Bright's team. 1920 Dark Elves. He did get a bit beat up before playoffs. Oh, damn it, that. I am actually going to go and check what that noise is. I do think that right outside, I'm broadcasting this from a warehouse at work, and I'm pretty certain there are some joyriders right outside, and I'm kind of hoping they're not going to smash into any vehicles that belong to us. So I'm going to take a 1-minute break to go and check. And I am back. Sorry about that, chat. I was correct. There are a bunch of kids spinning cars around the warehouse and the industrial estate. Right, where were we? We were on Bright and his Dark Elves, right? Chat seems to have had a little chat while I was gone. Let me have a quick look over this. A lot of support for Arzawayne pulling off the upset there. Yeah, it would be interesting to see, wouldn't it? Right, let's take a look at Bright. Yeah, a couple of games before playoffs, he got beat up, basically. Spun in to try to retake top Delphs, no idea why. He was going through as a wild card anyway. Ran into Colian's Dwarves, I believe. And got a bit murdered. Down Edge, Witch Elf, down Movement, Witch Elf. Lost a couple of players. So let's take a look at his opponent. Ziggy. Ziggy, who hadn't played this team in over a month, top of the league from week 1. And Bright is probably happy that it's this kind of team rather than Cham's Chaos Dwarves, because no claw, and he's the AV8 elves, so a lot of Mighty Blow, a lot of guard, but all of his TV is in those bowls. And the big TV one is niggled. I mean, I can't see Bright getting a good hit on it, but you never know. 2 strength, 5 balls. Yes, we go. 500 of his 1830 TV is those 2 balls. I think Bright may be able to pull that off. I think without the claw, without the obvious removals from the claw Mighty Blow, this is an easier team for Bright to beat. So let's take a look at the next round, and that is Le Marseillais Necro, and they have drawn Anraka's Ogres. That'll be an interesting match. Another toss-up, I think. Le Marseillais 1920 Necro. Well-rounded team, but luckily for Anraka, no killer wolves. No claw Mighty Blow to do work on those ogres. Does have a good 1-turn attempt in the ghoul, but Blodge Tackle will do good work against Noblars, but not so good against the ogres. He does have the most interesting zombie picks I think I've seen on a Necro team. Look at those. Multiple zombies with Wrestle and Fend. That's an interesting tactic for a Necro team, I think. Let's take a look at Anraka's Ogres. Anraka is pretty much an Ogre expert. Plays Ogres every season, does well with Ogres every season. And this season's no exception. 1970 TV. 6 ogres, 4 rerolls. Only 1 rookie ogre. But everyone draw your eyes down to the bottom of the page, because he has 2 Edge 4 Nobblers. 1 with Pro, Sprint and Kickoff Return. A level 5 Noblar, everyone. Feast your eyes on a level 5 Noblar. I talked to Anraka, and Noblar has never even been injured. Never mind survived, just never been injured. How has that happened? I can only assume he wrapped it in bubble wrap and stuck it up an ogre's butt for most of the games. I mean, that is incredible. Yeah, you never put him on the pitch, Rico. You bring him on the pitch, you, I guess, throw him, and then you hide him again. But normally ogres don't get... I mean, you lose a lot of Noblars in a game if you run into any bash teams. How has he managed to keep him safe? It's incredible. And his ogres are not bad. He has 2 block ogres, 2 break tackle, 2 piling on, some guard. The pro kickoff return, Jahanian, is apparently just because Anraka liked it. That's pretty much it. I don't even know if he throws him, because he has another Edge 4 Nobbler, so the Edge 4 one might be to get the ball and throw to the other Edge 4 Nobbler who gets thrown. I mean, that is a possible way around. You can pro the throw, pro the handoff, or actually no, pro the pickup, I guess. Although sure hands would have been better for that, wouldn't it? Yeah, it's odd. You are right, Jahanian. The more I talk about it, the more odd it sounds. But, I mean, it's still a level 5 Noblar. I wouldn't care if it was a level 5 Noblar with Sneaky Git randomly thrown in there just to show off that you got to pick 4 skills. Oh, right. And Raka's not around, but I'm sure he'll talk to me later. Let's look at the next round. First up, we have Gasol Mall and his Skaven. And he has also kind of half won the spin lottery because he's drawn Ungern's Goblins. And you'll see why I think that in a moment when we look at their teams. Gasol Mall qualified as the wildcard Skaven, and unlike Gimlick's 1910 Skaven team, Gasol Mall min-maxed his way through, which of course could cause you problems in playoffs unless you draw goblins. Yes, Stolen. It is the guy that you played, and if you take a look at his team, it is over 400 TV lower than top Skaven, and that's because of a late purchase. He's purchased those bottom 2 players. He did run 11 players, 1 Blitzer, 1 Storm Vermin, fully min-maxed, and yeah, he's in playoffs, but he's luckily drawn goblins, because this team against any of the developed teams would be an issue, wouldn't it? Min-max your way through and then get murdered in the first round of playoffs. But he's drawn goblins at least, so he has a good chance in his first round. But if you look at this team and then you look at Gimlick's team, it is leagues apart. So, yeah, lucking out in playoffs is not great. And Ungern, now this is interesting actually. Ungern was top vampires and chose to take his goblins instead, which was not a choice I think most people saw coming. Even though his vampires weren't particularly well developed, he took goblins over vampires. And he doesn't even get like 1,000 inducements or anything because he's drawn the min-maxed Skaven. So poor Ungern, I think, is in a bit of trouble. He's missing a troll for this match as well, which is also very bad. His troll is glitched. Apparently he has got a proper injury. Does have a loony and then a fanatic, a mighty blow fanatic at that. So it's not. But missing that block guard troll for that first match is going to be very annoying. Yes, Jahanian, according to Space Cadet, that is true. Which, as we all know, pretty much means it's definitely not true. As an Edge 4 Goblin, sure feet and sidestep, so clearly he does do some gobble throws. He could pull off a win. But he's going to have trouble, isn't he? And because Ungern took goblins instead of his vampires, that allowed our next draw, who is Caprion, to bring his vampires to the playoffs. And Caprion has drawn Sven's dwarves, which I'm sure he's very happy about. Let's take a look at Caprion's team, because vampires never use dodge. Here we go. It is a 1720 TV vampire team, and it would be 1930 if he wasn't missing one of his vampires for the first game. Again, he probably would have played that if he had any idea that Ungern was going to take goblins just to get his vampire back for playoffs, but those are the breaks. 5 vamps, 4 rerolls, but no real development on the thralls as usual for these vamp teams. 1 dirty player, 1 kick on the thralls. The vamps, it won't be easy for Sven, but those vamps might as well not have dodge. which makes that a little less, and he's missing one, so it's a 4 vamp build. I think missing that dodge is going to be hard. Does have 2 strength 5 vamps though, that's nice, isn't it? So yeah, I'd give the edge to Caprion in this match, but he's going to have to hope that those vamps survive. Because as we'll see, Sven's dwarf teams are almost always the same. Even within one season, he's probably got 3 or 4 of them looking much the same. And they are min-max, guard spam, mighty blow spam. Which means he gets hundreds of TV of inducements. So, yeah, all of that tackle. But again, like Colian's dwarves, these min-maxed teams, I mean, at least here, Sven has taken 2 blitzers. So he does have Edge 3 to pick up the ball if a vamp murders that runner. So he has more options. But this is the problem with min-maxing through the league. You get the playoffs and it's a bigger spin lottery than normal. Because you just don't have the development. He has 11 men. Yeah, I think Sven is going to find himself in a bit of trouble, and it's going to be about whether he can get those removals going with his mighty blow. Sven has just popped up in chat to say that his team is shit. I wouldn't go that far, Sven, but it could probably do with a couple hundred extra TV on it, couldn't it? Hey, that's strength 4 Longbeard has made his team slightly less min-maxed. Let's all cheer it. He could have not taken that strength and taken guard and mighty blow, just like all of his other Longbeards. But yes, Sven, you're going to have to do some work here against that vampire team. Good luck. So let's look to the next draw, and we have Elyod's top humans. There were no second humans in this round, and Elyod has drawn Trunkhead's Undead. So that's the bashiest team versus probably the actual bashiest team. Let's look at Elyod's humans. If I can find them, there we go. And amusingly, it's called an ogre team. He's missing a lineman, but other than that, he's also missing some skills here, isn't he? Just guard on the ogre, 2 rookie blitzers. Does have 1 killer blitzer, but that's not going to help him too much against undead, I don't think. Thrower, couple of catchers. Does have an edge 4 catcher with sidestep, so he does probably try the 1 turn. It's a human team. It doesn't have any amazing stat ups, few rookies. It's going to be a rough draw. Let's look at Trunkhead's team, which is interesting. 1800 undead. Block on a bunch of zombies. A block kick skeleton randomly thrown in there. Let's look. There's so many interesting players on Trunkhead's team. I don't know what to do first. Let's start with, there's a 1-turner ghoul. Movement 9, sprint block. That's nice, isn't it? And then let's go to Brian the Killer. His strength 5 white. So 3rd mummy on his team. Strength 5, sure hands, brick tackle, tackle. So he has a strength 5 ball carrier, essentially. Good luck getting that ball off him, Elyod. That's going to be a bit of trouble there. His mummies are developed. 2 guard, 1 with block, and 1 with his taken movement up. That's nice. But I'm going to go back up to the top of his team because I want to... He has taken Sneaky Git on a zombie. Who doesn't love that? Anyone who makes playoffs with a Sneaky Git player has my complete admiration because I love the skill. It's one of the most berated skills. I mean, other than maybe pass block, it's probably the most berated skill in Blood Bowl, and I love it. And anyone who takes it, good on you. I hope that zombie does work. Yes, you got to go with Trunkhead there, I think. And next up's another interesting draw, mostly because of the coaches than the teams. First up, we have Dionysian's Amazons, his mutant Amazons, and he's drawn Fiction's Kislev, which for those of you who don't know is interesting because Dionysian was top Kislev too, and chose to correctly to take his Amazons, which bumped Fiction up to top Kislev, and now he gets Dionysian in the draw. So yeah, let's take a look at Dionysian's mutant Zons. They're pretty impressive. I mean, I played Zons last season and I would have killed for this team. 3 strength 4 Zons, fully developed and alive blitzers, a lot of blodge, some rodge, tackle frenzy, everything you could want, really. Yeah, they are some Black Orcs in disguise, Garyon. Basically, he seems to have hired some very interesting women. I think the only thing really that you could say is wrong with his team is he's missing his second catcher. That probably died along the way somewhere. You played him. Did you play him with your lizards, Random Boy? Random Boy is saying that he caused one of the perms on Dionysian's team. While he's answering that, let's open his opponent, who's Fiction, with his Kislev. If anyone watched Fiction streaming this season, he played mostly Kislev all season, just to qualify them, just to sort of tick something off his bucket list, it seemed, because he was not a happy man a lot of the time. Where is Fiction? There he is. Missed him. So yes, as I mentioned in a different video, I know very little about Kislev. I hate them with a fiery passion. But apparently, this is a decent Kislev team. For 1700 TV, and they never look like they've got a lot, Kislev. But he does have 4 rerolls. He has an excellent statted blitzer, 6-4-4-8. So he's got a vampire blitzer with blodge. And obviously the skills they come with: jump up, dive and tackle, leap. Not leaps. Leap, sorry. He's got an edge 5 catcher. So it's nice. It can do the tricks that Kislev can do. I did talk to Fiction, and he did say that all he really wanted, or all he really wished, was that he had an extra player, because he's only got the 11, and that his 4th blitzer also had guard. And then he said that he would probably be about as happy as you can be with a Kislev team, which is not very happy. I mean, just not very happy. No one should be happy with a Kislev team. So, I mean, that's going to be a tough matchup, isn't it? Even with all of the tricks that Kislev can pull off, he's drawn the guy who was top Kislev, so is aware of all of those tricks. It's just one of those things. It's a harsh draw when you get such mutant Zons anyway, but played by a top Kislev coach as well. Got to be rough for Fiction. Next draw up, that is Redarox's Chaos, and he is drawn. He has drawn Leon's Lizardmen, and I'm going to just switch here and call Leon's Snail. It clearly is Snail backwards. He's capitalized the S. It's just easier, because Leon's is nothing. It's not a name. I'm sure it's just Snail backwards. So, yeah, that's not what you want to draw as lizards, is it? Top Murderous Chaos. So let's take a look at Top Murderous Chaos. Red Rocks was interesting this season. He played like a madman. 65 games played with this team. 65 games with one team. And they qualified. That is a lot. And his team is what you'd expect from a 1970 Chaos team. Good warriors. Block, claw, mighty blow, guard, stand firm. I mean, those are complete. Those are the Chaos Warriors that you want. He has a good killer sweeper, strength 4 goat, and he has a claw palm. It sort of is noob, except when you realize that he probably played most of those games against other kill stack teams, because that's how matchmaking tends to work. So he's survived a lot of other top Chaos, Chorf and Nurgle teams, which is probably where the rookie goats come in. Just constantly playing to replace players. And his one weak spot was that his claw palmer is AV busted down to 7. But he's drawn Lizardmen who, I mean, they don't do a lot of fouling, do they, lizards? You don't want to lose those skinks. You're definitely not going to foul with a Saurus. So he could get away with it. Oh, noob throwing some shade at Red Rocks here. And let's take a look at Snail's Lizards. Giving away 300 TV, a rookie Crocs, a rookie Saurus. It's 11 men. All he's really got going for him is an insane super skink. Movement up, strength up, agi up, blodge, skink. So that skink is either going to have to win the game for him, or his entire team is going to get destroyed. Because that's... yes, newbie is very much going to get banged on. Red Rocks is probably going to have a day of it. Yeah, this is top lizards. Random Boy slipped down to second, but Random Boy's lizards team is so much better than this one. So much of this team's 1620 TV, 210 TV are in this skink. And he has no spares. I mean, he'll get Slibbly, so he can keep the skink off in the first half at least. I would say 300 he's going to get Slibbly. I don't think he can afford a wizard. I think he has to just get Slibbly and hope. Because he has to keep that skink safe. It's his only hope. So yeah, that's second to last draw here. We have Jameis McGamus and his Amazon team. Nicely in front of me for later. And Jameis has drawn Orbit's Nurgle. Orbit's Nurgle is actually another interesting story. Came out of nowhere. Knock with Rotten Potatoes was top Nurgle all season, really, from week 1. And Orbit played 5 games in the last day of playoffs, of the season, sorry, and passed him. Excellent achievement. And if we take a look at his team in a minute, remind me to look at his record. This is Jameis's Amazons. Does have 2 strength 4. Movement 7 on the Blitzer. I'm not certain that I like that, but I guess you take stat ups where you can get. Line Woman also has Agi 4, so even though he has no catchers, they look like they've died. He does have a replacement with this excellently statted Line Woman with sure hands and sidestep, so there's his super ball carrier. It's just not a good team as Dio's. However, it's still a very good team. Let's take a look at Orbit's Nurgle. Here's Orbit's Nurgle. The most interesting thing about Orbit's Nurgle is that he went unbeaten. 15-6-0 with Nurgle is a great record, isn't it? Because starting Nurgle are god-awful. And before Noob throws any shade on this one, checked his record, and he took 2 very nice scalps. Didn't just run into rookies. He beat Mike the Machine's dwarves, who were second dwarves, but Mike qualified with Wood Elves. And he also beat Spartaco's Wood Elves, who were third Wood Elves. So that's not just a great record. He's taken 2 great scalps, and I've never heard of Orbit. So there's a name for the next season to keep an eye on. I mean, his team's pretty good. You'd expect a couple more rotters probably, but he does have 150k in the bank. Does have Claw Palm, but unfortunately it's on a Pest to go with no block. He does have Block Claw Mighty Blow on a warrior. Just the one guard. And the other warrior just has Mighty Blow. It's a bit underdeveloped, but I mean, he only played 21 games, so it's going to be a good fight, I think. I think that match is going to be close. Jameis versus Orbit. I think if Orbit hadn't had such a great record, I would give the edge to Jameis, but clearly Orbit knows what he's doing. I don't think he could play any more Noob. He literally played them through to the end of the season. He didn't sit on this or anything. He flew through last days. Yeah, he played, look, on the 16th in the evening. Maybe he would have had to play overnight. He played 5 games in the last 36 hours of the season. So, on the last draw, we're not going to be able to look at one of the teams. I guess we can go and find his team. The last draw would have been Roirin and Second Necro, but Roirin went missing. Didn't answer the call for a ticket or anything. Hasn't answered any PMs, so unfortunately, deadline has passed. He's out, and that brought Ancient Flame and his Chaos in, as who was 9th wildcard. So now he gets promoted to 8th. And he has drawn Space Cadet and his Norse. So Ancient Flame is another interesting story. He really, really, really tried to qualify. He was playing for almost 24 hours straight, I think. And he literally failed at the last hurdle. Came 9th wildcard. And then, I don't know if he decided to send the boys round to Roirin's. But, yeah, got through anyway after Roirin sacked it off. So let's have a look at Ancient Flame's Chaos team. That I'm guessing Space Cadet does not want to look at because it's 1970 kill Chaos. Everyone says they're noob, but I play Norse and I absolutely hate playing Claw teams because your Norse team is built around the Yeti and the Ulfs needing to do work. And of course, that's who the Claw bombs target. If your Ulf, a Norse or a glass cannon team, and the cannon is the Yeti, if you lose that Yeti, you have to protect it like nobody's business against Claw Palm. And this is the kind of team that will kill you. Well-rounded. 4 Claw Mighty Blow, 1 Claw Palm. Lots of guard. Lots of tackle. I mean, jeez. Space is in for a rough game, isn't he? Yeah, Stolen. Even if he pulls off a win, he could end up playing the next game with 2 guys. And because Space is currently away for work, his team hasn't accepted a ticket. But I will see if I can go and find his team. That shouldn't be that hard, I don't think. No, except, of course, for Cyanide's incredible UI. Thank you, Cyanide, for making this a lot easier. I mean, incredibly difficult and annoying. Let's just pick one of my teams from last season. This is Space Cadet's team. And yeah, it's built around the two berserkers, isn't it? He has a good ball carrier with his runner, but those berserkers were going to have to do some serious work on goats, and that Yeti is going to have to do some removals. It's not bad, Garyon, but it's 300 TV lower than Kill Chaos, which is just annoyingly not enough to get something like Ice Pelt, which might be decent. He's got 3 rookie linemen, and let's all pretend we don't see that he has 2 shadowing linemen. I'm amazed that nobody's commented on that immediately. It is a trademark of Space Stolen, but that doesn't mean that it shouldn't be mocked at every opportunity. His movement busted yet. He might be an issue. He doesn't have palm. He doesn't have claw palm, so it doesn't matter so much. He did finally get Ulf on a block, an Ulf with block. He probably will take bribes, Vico, and immediately get sent off with a bribe fail for his first bribe, and then be wondering what to do. Yeah, this is a rough match for Space. He has drawn one of the worst teams he could have drawn. I guess the worst team he could have drawn is probably Colian's Dwarves. But massive TV up kill stack chaos when you were trying to get removals with yourself. That's a tough game. So that's all the teams that we've looked at. So I believe if I can switch, let's look at the actual bracket. Let's see if this works. Never done this before. Waiting for it to show on my stream that it did work. It did. Look at that. Magic. So this is the actual bracket. Let's do some predictions for this. I think the first match at the top there, Azathoth versus Price. I think I'm going to give it Azathoth. TV up, better rolls, lots of doubles, both good coaches, both elves. I think the edge goes to the Dark Elves. And in Colian versus Cham, so Noob is calling it for Price. I'm not going to let chat's calls just disappear. But Colian versus Cham, I think you've got to give the edge to Cham with the claw palm. Colian's min-maxed, going to be in trouble. Which means that in that next round, I have Azathoth versus Cham. And I think, if that is the next round, Azathoth will beat Cham and have half a team left. That's my prediction for that matchup there for round 2. Down at match 3, we have Coldy versus Random Boy, and I just think Random Boy's too strong for him. Coldy, both excellent coaches. Coldy with Pro Elves could be tricky, but Random Boy with Mighty Blow is just going to start tearing him apart from turn 1. I don't think he'll last the game. So Random Boy moves on for me with no damage to his own team either. And then in the next one, I think Gimlick will take Dexine. His Skaven team is strong. He has Claw Mighty Blow for the Tomb Guardians. I think that'll probably be a walkover. No offense if Dexine is watching. I think that matchup is very difficult for Khemri. Slow and against Claw Mighty Blow. That's their worst draw, surely. Which means Gimlick then plays Random Boy. And sorry, Random Boy, I give that to Gimlick. I think that Gimlick, like Azathoth, will beat the Bash team and go on to the next round with half a team. So round 3 at that top there in the bracket, I have Gimlick versus Azathoth, and it'll be whoever has the most players surviving from their previous match. Gonna be hard. I keep forgetting, Astro, that you are deck sign. I just said if you're watching. You did tell me as well. Very sorry, Astro. Yes, I think that you've drawn an incredibly bad matchup there. Gimlick is also in chat, by the way. You two can just smack talk each other as much as you like. I think he's just terrible for you. Claw, Mighty Blow, and Fast. Those are the 2 things that Khemri hate. Yeah. You're going to have to hope for a lot of removals early, I think. Which is possible. You've got a bunch of Mighty Blow. He does have a bunch of Line Rats. There we go. Gimlick and deck sign. Fight! Fight in chat! Throw shade! Hate each other! And then for Jahanian versus Mike, I gotta go with Mike. Both top coaches, both experienced with elves, but Mike's team is better. Jahanian has the tricky team with all of those Leap Edge 5 guys, but I think Mike will have the edge with the more well-rounded team, the more skills. Jahanian will have a wizard, which is his hope, I would say, in that matchup. That wizard will have to win it for him. That'll be the big decider. What that wizard does in that game will be the big decider, in my opinion. And then we move on to Olivier Dulac's Underworld and Rick's Halflings. And you got to go with Halflings in that. If the Underworld team had any more team, I would, I would go with Underworld. But Rick is very good with Halflings, and he's drawn an excellent matchup. I see him going through, which means that he goes through to play either Jahanian or Mike. I'm taking Mike, so I don't think he goes through again. I just don't. Even if he goes through and Mike doesn't take any damage from Jahanian, it means that Rick gets 1,000 inducements against Mike. That's the thing that Mike should fear the most. 1,000 inducements. Just buy like 6 wizards. It's yeah, he's gonna get everything you could possibly want, isn't he? Deep Root, Chef, Wizard. Probably, I would in that matchup, I would take Zara over Puggy, and just go stab crazy against Mike's Woodies. It would be great. So yeah, I'm kind of now hoping. I mean, to be fair, he plays Woodies regardless if he gets through. So even if Jahanian beats Mike, same result, except he gets less inducements. So I've got to hope that it is Mike versus Rick for all of those crazy inducements. And the next matchup, sorry Arzawain, you are almost certainly going to be battered to death by Andy's Orcs. I mean, that is probably your roughest matchup you could have drawn there. Giving up 500 TV with a last-minute Bretonian run. That's harsh. So I have Devo going through. And Bright versus Ziggy is going to be close. I got to give it to Bright. Even with the Mutant Bulls, Ziggy is unlikely to get the removals he would if he had Claw. So I got to give it to Bright. Which means Bright then plays Devo. And that's going to be rough, because he's probably going to be missing players from Ziggy. It's going to be harsh indeed. But Dark Elves versus Orcs. Again, no face in, no claw. The Agi team could squeak through. So if Bright does beat Devo, then that's Bright versus Mike in that round 3 of the top half of the bracket. I would give the edge to Mike because Bright will have gone through 2 murderous matches, whereas Mike has played Wood Elves and either Flings or Halflings. So I have Mike going through to the semis in the top half of the bracket. And I think he plays Azathoth. Sorry, Gimlick. I think that Azathoth will survive the matches better than you will. And I think Azathoth takes Gimlick. Well, Mike, you are completely replaceable with Jehanian in this. If Jehanian beats you in round 1, I also have him in the exact same. Right. So you don't fear the pressure. You could easily just lose to Jehanian in match 1, and then I'll go back and I'll dub over Jehanian for every time that I mention your name, and pretend that was completely on purpose. So I think the semis in the top half are Mike versus Azathoth, and that'll be very interesting. So yeah, let's move on to the bottom half of the bracket. We have La Marseillaise Necro versus Anrak as Ogres. I have to be honest, that's the one I have no idea who's going to win that. Ogres are such a wild card team in general that they could be absolute garbage, or they could absolutely destroy La Marseillaise team. It's a 1970 Ogre team with two super nobblers, and La Marseillaise doesn't have Claw Mighty Blow. He's missing it on his Wolves. I kind of want the Ogres to go through. My head says Necro, my heart says Ogres. Let's get Ogres through to round 2, is it? Let's just throw Anraker in there, why not? And then Gasol Mall is probably going to beat Ungern. He's lucked out with that draw. He is probably going to beat Ungern. Ungern's an excellent coach, but Gasol Mall is no slouch, and I think Gasol Mall goes through. However, if Anraka does go through, Gasol Mall is going to be paced in that round 2. That is just going to be a pile of rat-shaped shapes on the floor. So I think he stands more of a chance if La Marseillaise goes through than if Anraka goes through. I think in the next round, Caprion versus Sven, I think Caprion can pull that off. It'll very much matter if his vampires live. I mean that's an obvious thing to say, but against dwarves with tackle and vampires relying on blodge, it's harsh, but Caprion's an excellent vampire coach. I beat him this season, so I can call him all of the great names in the world. It just makes me sound better. I think he'll do it. I think Caprion will pull that out. However, I do think he'll be missing like all of his thralls. I think he'll go through with just vampires. Elyod versus Trunkhead, you got to give the edge to Trunkhead in that. Elyod is playing a bash team. I know humans do have catches, but they are just a bash team at the end of the day with some pass playability, and Trunkhead's a better bash team. I mean, I don't know what Elyod's going to do to get the ball off a strength 5 white, so I don't see him with break tackle, so I don't see him stopping Trunkhead's offense. I think he gets a wizard, so maybe that wizard will have to do work. A wizard will have to do work in a lot of these matchups. Let's be fair about that. I beat the Vamps with my Amazons, noob. I beat Caprion with my Zons, not Norse. I played all AV7 this season. Next up, Dionysian versus Fiction. I think it's Dionysian, because Fiction, I don't even know if Fiction gets a wizard. I'd have to go back and check, but he's so high TV, Fiction, that he doesn't get a lot of inducements, and Dio knows all the tricks. Dio knows everything that Fiction is going to do. He does it himself. So, got to give that to Dio. Redarox is Chaos versus Snails Lizards. I mean, Claw Mighty Bow is just going to do work, isn't it? If Redarox rolls any 8s, Snail is dead. There's not. Snail has one Super Skink and nothing else. I think Redarox's going to just absolutely destroy him. Jameis McGamus Zons versus Orbit's Nurgle. Tough one. Orbit's excellent record is the only thing that's stopping me from just giving that to Jameis straight off. I'm going to pull an upset here. I think Orbit's going to take it. Sorry, Jameis. And then 1970 Chaos versus Space Cadets beating up Norse. I think you can tell from that description who I think is going to win. My heart obviously says Space Cadet. He's a friend, but Ancient Flame played well, and that team is better. Noob's definitely on Norse's side, but I just don't see it happening. I think for that to have a good chance, Space is going to have to come out of the gate flying with instant removals. And that's it. If he doesn't, that's it. It's over. So in the bottom half of the bracket, that means that I've got Anraka beating Gasolmall in round 2, and therefore Ogre's going on to round 3. What a bold prediction I've come up with there, it seems. Ogres get into the quarterfinals. I have Caprion beating Sven, and then I have Trunkhead beating Caprion. I think after surviving Sven, he'll just have a bunch of loner thralls. Won't be able to reroll anything with anyone. I mean, as vamps, you probably keep them for the vamps anyway, but I think Trunkhead just smashes every thrall off the pitch. So, and then Trunkhead beats Anraka in round 3. Sorry, the glorious Ogre run is over there. And so Trunkhead moves on to the semis in the bottom half of the bracket for me. Then we have Dionysian playing Redarox, and that's going to be interesting. I think Dio beats him. Redarox does not have a lot of tackle, and Dio's such a good coach. No offense to Redarox, Dio is one of the best coaches. I think Dio takes Redarox there and moves on to round 3. And I think Chaos beats Nurgle. I think Ancient Flame beats Orbit and moves on. And I think Dio meets his match there. If Ancient Flame makes it through, his Chaos team have 4 tackle killers. I think if Ancient Flame is the one that makes it through and Dio makes it through, I think Dio meets his match in round 3 and gets absolutely destroyed by 4 tackle killers. So Ancient Flame, despite squeaking a wild card due to a no-show, I have him going through to the semis to play Trunkhead. So Mike versus Azathoth in the semis at the top, and Ancient Flame versus Trunkhead in the semis at the bottom. I think it's probably a bit too much pressure on coaches to go past the semis. I think if my bracket holds for that, I'd be amazed. There's so many close matches. It's Blood Bowl. Anything can happen. It is a shame that both Woodies are facing each other in round 1, Vico. But like I said, that means I think if whichever of those 2 coaches wins, I think gets to the semis thanks to that bracket. I think that's a high pressure first round match for Mike and Jehanian, because their second round match is going to be against Underworld or Halflings. And then their third round match is probably going to be against Davos Orcs. So, I'm not going to give a winner prediction. I'm just going to leave it at the semis. We will do a roundup show again after the first round, and we'll see how many of my see if any of my predictions held up. Everyone feel free to come and laugh at the horrendous record I have of predicting those wins. Noob especially, seeing as he pretty much disagreed with every single thing that I said. So me versus Noob will be the battle of the predictions. And yep, thank you everyone for watching. I am going to end the stream here to keep the VOD nice and simple. And I'll see you all back in the Discords.